Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with the 5-star romance books I've read throughout the last season, which was spring. I cannot believe that March, April, May, we've gone through 3 months already. To be fair, I have about a week left of May, but I don't know. I've had a really hard time finding 5-star reads this month. I've had 2. So I was looking at my winter 5-star reads and I had a decent amount, and I only have, I think, 10 to share with you. I might sprinkle in like 2 that are really, really close 5 stars that I'm just going to include anyways because I love them so much and I want to talk about them as often as I can. But I am here to talk about the 5-star reads I've read. These are true 5 stars with a couple of like 4.75 in there, but I don't do 4.75, so they're like 4.5, but they're like super close. And I just have not been reading a ton that have just like blown my mind, blew me away, and I miss that, and I feel like that's what I've been giving my 5-star reads. So we will go ahead and talk about them. So I will link down below the last couple seasons I've done this. Every 3 months I sit down and wrap them up, just in case you're wondering what I've been absolutely loving. I do my videos where I talk about like recent books I've been obsessed with, but I will include like 4-star reads in those, but these 5 stars. So we are going to get to it. So starting off, I have all of my actual like templates saved to my Instagram if you ever want to look at those, where I do label my 5-star reads. But talk about obsessed. I know I've talked about this a lot ever since I read it, but the very first weekend of March, I devoured the Edge of Darkness trilogy by Lee Rivers. Only book 1 was like an absolute 5-star read for me, but I feel like book 3 was very, very close. Book 2 was a 4-star, but this trilogy as a whole was an obsession of mine. So these are dark romances. I've talked about them in a lot of videos since I read them in March. Very soulmates, and it's very much past and present, and the book 2 has a ton of flashbacks to when they fell in love when they were younger, and now they're like just, I think they're college age now, just out of high school, and they had a really bad breakup, and he is her best friend's brother, and they both have very, very horrific things happen to them. This is a very, very dark book, so please know that going in. Things have kept them apart, and it's so tragic and so sad, and you get to finally have their HEA at the end. I do have another book related to this series in this video, but that one does not have an HEA. This trilogy does have an HEA, so do not worry about that, but it is so good, and that's all I really want to tell you. I did not know anything going into this other than that it was a dark romance. There were a lot of people sharing like TikTok teasers, and I was super interested, so I picked it up, devoured the entire trilogy back to back to back, and if you know me, I never read series like one after the other to finish, and I did that with this trilogy. So I was obsessed. 5 stars immediately for this entire series, but more specifically book 1. I only had 3 5-star reads in March, so that trilogy. Then I had Beautiful Exile by Catherine Cowles. All of Catherine's books are basically 5-star reads for me because I'm just so obsessed with every romance she writes. She does write romantic suspense, which is my absolute favorite genre. This is book 4 in the Sparrow Falls series and follows Arden, who is very closed off because of a very tragic past she had, and she has learned like self-defense, and she's a pretty kick-butt character, and she's very like reclusive. She lives at the property that her hockey player brother has in their small town, and she paints, so she has a studio, and she just closes everyone off. Hockey team owner has arrived in town, and he's staying at that house as well, and so they are pretty much like living together on the same property, and he immediately falls for her. He falls first. He's so intrigued and obsessed with her, and I loved it. I love this series so much, and this one was just so fun. The suspense always shocks me in Catherine's books too, so this one was a 5-star. I know that the next 2 are going to be 5 stars as well to finish out the series, and I just don't want it to be over. And then I went the entire rest of the month without a 5-star read until I read The Nanny is Off Limits, which I loved. This is a forbidden romance by QB Tyler. She is a nanny and he is the single dad. So he actually was co-parenting with his ex-wife, and she passes away. So he has to take care of the kids all by himself. He has 3 kids, 1 in high school, and I think 1 like 12 and 1 like 6. So, or 9, I don't remember. The younger 2 are closer than age to each other than the older daughter, but he definitely has his hands full, and his brother's like, you need to hire someone to help. So they actually run into her at a grocery store, and the brother is like, you don't have to be a nanny, do you? And she's like, actually, yeah, I'm in school right now, but I do nanny. And so he's like, can you please help my brother? So brings her to the house, does an interview, and she is hired. So she ends up living with them as well, and there's immediate attraction and chemistry between them. But I really, really love the kids in this book because the kids have such unique characteristics and personalities to them, which I feel like some single parent romances don't do too well, but this one really did. And they all get attached to her in different ways, and so they have to be really careful about how they even attempt to go about a relationship because it could really affect the kids. And her bedroom's right across from his office. So obviously they can't keep their hands off of each other. It is so good. I loved this one, and that was my last 5-star read of March. I had 16 books I read. 3 of them were 5 stars, and that's it. April was a bit better. There were 4 5-star reads, and they were all within the first 10 books I read. I read 21 books in April, but I am going to talk about 2 others that blew me away. So, and I didn't give them a full 5 stars, but they were super close. So we're going to talk about 6 books from April. The first one is Psychotic Obsession by Lee Rivers. I have to go back and read the other books that Lee Rivers have written because I am devouring her books, and this one is Tobias' story, who is the dad of the hero of the Edge of Darkness trilogy. He is literally a psychopath. He is institutionalized in the Edge of Darkness trilogy, so, and like a prison kind of situation. We know he's done bad things. We know he's a serial killer. He has killed a ton of people, and you watch him be a really interesting, like 20s, not as confident and put together as he is as an adult in the trilogy. It was interesting seeing him just like not be as suave as he is as an older man. Not even old man. I don't even know how old he is in the Edge of Darkness trilogy. He's maybe in his like 40s or 50s. And in this one as like a 20-something year old, he's just like kind of nerdy, and he does not know what's going on. So he is literally psychotic, and he is on medication for it. He sees a therapist for it, and he meets the heroine, and he's like gone. He's just like, well, that's it. Stops taking his meds and goes crazy. And she falls for him too, but she knows that he's really dangerous. And so she's kind of in between him and this other guy. And you see them both also in the Edge of Darkness trilogy. And it was really interesting to see how their relationship started and how much they fell for each other. And it does not end on an HEA because you know going into the Edge of Darkness trilogy what their end is. But you also know who dies prior to reading this book. I highly recommend reading this after the trilogy because it just hits so much harder. I had a ton of fun reading it. It was so good. Then my next 5-star read, a lot of these are dark or fantasy moving forward. So the next one is This Cruel and Lovely by Stasia Stark. This was so good. Okay, yes, I'm just making sure. I read a lot of fantasy and I was about to explain the plot and I had to make sure it's correct. It is. So she has a magic. You're supposed to give your magic to the kingdom. So if you are discovered with magic, you're pretty much killed. And so these people come around all the time to look for magic. Her mom realizes they're coming and basically shoves her into a river and says leave. So she leaves and comes upon these mercenaries, and at first they just like leave her. They're like, we don't want anything to do with you. Then they come upon her again, realize she can stop time, and they're like, this actually might be helpful. So they strike a deal with her, and one of the guys that's in the mercenaries is someone she's dreamed about before. So there's a connection there. They're like, what's going on? So she ends up going with them, traveling with them as mercenaries on the road to the kingdom, and she is there for a specific purpose, and she gets in and then is undercover in the royal people. And I don't want to say anything else beyond that, but it is so good and so fast paced, and the romance is amazing. And there's a twist at the end that I did not see coming, and I was like, this is so good. I need book 2 now. Have I read book 2? No, but I really want to. But if you want a really great fantasy, and if you like the concept of like hiding your powers and trying to take down the kingdom from within, this is for you. It's so good. Then I read My Dark Fairy Tale by Gianna Darling, which is dark mafia romance. This one, our heroine is American. She's always wanted to go to Italy to really like get to know her Italian roots, but her father's like, never go to Italy, so she doesn't listen. She goes, and when she first gets there, her car breaks down and someone tries to take advantage of her, and so she's running through the vineyards of this town in Italy and runs out into the street into the car of an Italian mafioso. He's literally like the head of the mafia. That's our hero. He meets her with literally like a body in his trunk, and he's like, I guess I'll help you. So he brings her to his home, and she recovers there, and he helps her get all of her stuff that she needs back because she literally has nothing, no passport, no money, no nothing, and so he's trying to help her out, and they fall for each other. She has no idea he's part of the mafia, no idea the danger she's in being at his house, and he is touch her and die when it comes to her and obsessed with her, and it's so good. If you like that kind of mafia romance, read this. It does end on a cliffhanger though. Book 2 comes out in October. I can't wait. Then I have Crescent Kingdom by Tessa Hale. I'm a Tessa Hale stan. I love her Why Choose Romances. This is the new one in her Wolves of Crescent Creek series. They are werewolves, and it is Why Choose. So the heroine is in town. She's hiding something. She's half wolf, half caster, and she actually is able to hide her scent with her magic, so they don't even know she's a wolf. And so she does have a membership to their gym, and she fights, and they were like on some mission when she arrived into town, so they come back and they're like, who is this? She's living above the bar, she works at the bar, and she's hiding from something. And so they are obviously like, oh my gosh, we're so attracted to this person, like who is she? And it goes from there. Lots of danger. It's very fast. I love how short and quick Tessa Hale's books are, but I'm obsessed with her heroes. And the next book comes out soon. I believe it's July, and I can't wait because this ends on a brutal cliffhanger too. She usually writes trilogies, so I think it'll be finished before the end of the year. The next two are the ones that are like 4.75. They aren't quite 5 stars, but I do want to talk about them because I was obsessed with them. On Midnight Shores by Julia Olivia. I have been really struggling with contemporary lately, like straight up contemporary, unless it has like suspense in it, if it's mafia, dark, whatever. But this one I loved. So this is a small town romance. I have been loving small town, like cozy, and this gave those cozy coastal vibes that I just really wanted when I read it. So this one, our heroine is the youngest of a really large family, and she has felt pressure to not chase her dreams and instead do something practical. So she went into graphic design, even though she's an artist, and she's just trying to fit in the cookie cutter mold, but can't get a job anywhere. The hero's tattooed bad boy in town. He owns the art studio where he sells his art, and the heroine sees a help wanted sign, and she's like, hey, I would love to work for you. And he's like, I didn't put that up there, no. And it was his best friend that put it up there, and he finally breaks down and hires her though, and they actually hooked up in the beginning of this book, and they're really into each other. And it's an age gap though, because I think he's like 30 and she is early 20s, and it is so good. He is just very grumpy and reclusive and tattooed and bad boy, and he does have a lot going on though, especially with his family, and the heroine is just trying to discover herself and find like her spark in her art back, and it's so good. It's so good. He's very possessive of her too when it comes to certain situations, which is really fun, like around his friends and stuff. I loved it. I love the coastal setting. I love the small town. I just love this romance so much. Cannot wait to read more in the series. And then the next one was The Marriage Hex by Sarah Blue. I have been loving paranormal stuff lately, and this hit the spot. This one is a shifter romance, and she is a witch and he's a wolf shifter. And what happens is when they were teenagers, on her 16th birthday, she accidentally hexes them, and they promised each other they'd get married if they were both single at 30. And that like literal next day, her grandmother shows up and takes her away because she has never known her family. He's never known his family. And so she's been then raised by the witches in the coven, and she lives in their small town. He actually moves to basically like the town next to them where there's a wolf pack, and he challenges the alpha, and he's now the alpha of the pack. The wolves and the witches don't get along. But the morning of her 30th birthday, they are magically forced to the courthouse and have to get married because of this hex. Like, it will not leave them alone, and it won't let them not be around each other. So like at night, if physically they cannot be apart. And so they are supposed to be on like opposite sides of this like paranormal creature battle. It's not like a physical battle, but it is just like they cannot get along, and they realize there's a lot of mystery behind where her family is, like specifically what happened with her mom. So he does end up helping her with that, and they spend more time together. There's an only one bed situation at like a hotel they have to stay at. It was so good, and I just love paranormal so much because it just gives that extra added angst to the romance, and I ate this up. I can't wait for book 2 in the series. It's coming out this year. So that was April. That was it. And so far in May, I have 2 5-star reads, but I'm going to talk about one other one. So we're going to talk about 3 books for May. So the first one's Direbound. This one I gave 4.5 stars just because of a little pet peeve of mine, but overall the story blew my mind. If you love Fourth Wing, you'll love this one. Fourth Wing, they have to bond with dragons, and this one they have to bond with dire wolves. That's why it's called Direbound. So there's basically this competition to climb this mountain in order to get to the top to the wolves, and then you're not even guaranteed a bond, so they might kill you. So she ends up not willingly entering this competition. She signs up for the military. In this society, these enemies are stealing the children in their cities, and so she wants to help stop that, so she signs up for the military and doesn't know that the competition is being held soon. So she ends up having to join, and then she obviously bonds with the dire wolf, and the story goes from there. There's lots of training, and they're not even guaranteed to be able to be direbound because they sometimes pick off their own if they're weak. So this story goes from there. She does have a relationship with someone at the beginning of the book that you know is not going to be the hero, and I just got tired of that being dragged on and continuously having spicy scenes between them because I'm like, this is not my hero. I do not care about this man. So the hero though, you will know as soon as you see him that he is the hero. I loved it. I love everything about this. There is though, I've seen a lot of spoilers for the tropes of this book. There's one trope that is continuously posted as a trope of this book and I was like, that is 100% a spoiler. So don't look up anything about this book. Just go read it. It's amazing. Along that same vein, I did read Silver Elite as well by Danny Francis. I gave this 5 stars. This was so good. This one, our heroine, she actually has mind powers, and in this society, people with powers are killed. If they find out that you have any sort of mind ability, you're killed. And so she has a few. She is caught in town being a very good shot. So she ends up saving the life of this little boy during a wolf attack, and she literally like uses her gun and shoots the wolf. During this like tussle, she's like spot on, and there's some soldiers around and they're like, this is very interesting. She's like, I was just trained by my uncle because we live on a farm. No, false. She is someone who has powers, and her uncle has powers, and they can talk to each other through their minds, and her uncle is taken, and he is seen as a traitor. They figure out that he has powers because there are ways to tell, and in this society, if you use your like mind abilities, your veins turn a different color. Hers don't, so she's able to use her abilities without anybody being able to tell, and so she goes to basically like the capital to try to save her uncle, and then they take her, and they're basically like, you're being forced to compete to become one of like the silver agents. And so she doesn't want to, and so she basically sabotages her way through the program trying to fail. And so it's another kind of like training school book. Obviously there's gonna be a romance with someone there, someone superior, and it is so good. I feel like the last half of this book was so unique and so fast paced, and I was obsessed. This romance, obsessed. The ending blew my mind. This book I had so much fun reading. 5 stars. Please, please read it if you're at all interested. The last book I have is My Favorite Bad Decision by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This book, if you like angst, please read this. I love angst, and I love everything Elizabeth O'Rourke has written. I love Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, whichever one that's called. The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. I always get the title wrong. That was one of my favorite books of the year when I read it, and this gives such vibes to that book. So in this one, it's her sister's ex. They broke up like 10 years ago. It's been a long time since they broke up, but she is super close with her sister, and she has been put by her father for their company she works for to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I used to be obsessed with Mount Everest, okay? I still find it fascinating. Would I ever climb it? Absolutely 100% without a doubt, no. I think people are so intriguing who want to climb Mount Everest, and I watched like a ton of climbing documentaries. I was obsessed with it in elementary school and would read like those books. There were like 3 little short chapter books about these like kids who climb Mount Everest. Like that's where I kind of got obsessed with it. Anyways, I like climbing stuff, okay? Would I ever do it? Absolutely not. But I find it fascinating, and I've watched some documentaries of like these elite climbers. I think it's so cool. So I was like, Mount Kilimanjaro climbing? Yes, yes, give it to me now. So she shows up, and her sister's ex is there, and she hates him because he broke up with her sister through text, and she's like, you just broke her heart, blah, blah, blah. And he is like, oh gosh darn it, I'm gonna have to watch out for her. He's such a good guy. And so he does. He watches out for her during the climb, and there's only one tent for so much of it. Like they have to share a tent through going up there, and he kind of like pushes her, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? Why are you working for your dad? Why are you not going to medical school like you wanted to? And then she has kind of like unraveling her trauma over a past relationship that went bad. Don't want to spoil anything about that, but like I feel like you do a lot of reflecting on these climbs when it's just you and the elements and you're just walking. And so she has to think a lot about that, and she's falling for her sister's ex, and her sister is in a really bad marriage and kind of sees him as her second chance. So her sister wants to get back together with this guy that broke up with her 10 years ago, and so she would never want to betray her sister either by getting back together with him. When I tell you the angst, it is so off limits, not only because it's her sister's ex, but because her sister would genuinely get back together with him if he showed any interest. So it is so good, and it's such a unique premise, like climbing a mountain, and I loved it so much. I literally listened to the entire audiobook in one night. Like I could not put it down. Please read this if you are at all interested, if you love an angsty romance, and if you love Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is amazing. Those are the 5-star reads I've read in the spring of 2025. If you've read any of these, let me know. If you have any recent 5-star reads that you're obsessed with that I have to read, I would love to hear. Give me all your recommendations. And if you've made it this far, leave me a mountain emoji for the last book. Leave me a mountain emoji in the comments, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.